Tiffany Henyard, the corrupt mayor of the Village of Dolton, Illinois, is in a lot of trouble. We know it, the feds know it, and she knows it. Tiffany's crimes are well known. She has basically gang-pressed her local police department into being her private security, paid them tons of overtime money, has spent village money like crazy on herself, and has basically run the Village of Dolton like a crime boss. And being a crime boss is her real passion. That's what she really wants to be. The trouble is, she's not smart enough to pull off these crimes without getting in trouble, and she's only the mayor of a very small town. This is hardly the stuff of Al Capone, but Al Capone is who she wants to be.
It said one time she showed up to City Hall there, dressed as Nino Brown, and she even took a picture of herself dressed that way with a dog, a fake dog with a chain because, you know, Nino Brown had these dogs and all that other stuff.
When does the hammer fall? And will she be around to see it? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Now, the FBI is already investigating her, but they could take years to wrap it up. But before then, she may decide to get the hell out of Dodge. And by Dodge, I don't mean Dolton, I mean the United States. Why wouldn't she simply wait to be indicted? Well, there's an election coming, and even Tiffany isn't so deluded into thinking she has a prayer of winning. That is a date you can circle on the calendar. The wheels come off within a week after that date. Why is that? Losing an election is not the end of the world for most people, but for her, it would be, because a new government can come in and look up the books. Right now, she won't let anyone see them. But after losing the election, the only way for her to stop prying eyes would be to erase the files. But that would bring in immediate arrest, and not by her local corrupt police force, but rather the sheriff or state police. Since there's an active investigation going on, that would be seen as obstruction of justice and not just the destruction of government property. And this is where her new financial manager could end up in prison herself if she doesn't do the due diligence necessary to preserve the records. Once auditors open the books, her crimes will surface for everyone to see. You really can't hide corruption once a new government is in place. Contractors have copies of their own invoices. Banks have records of how much money you have. Any seasoned financial auditor could piece together a tale of theft and corruption in short order. And naturally, that would bring charges. They don't really need to wait for Lori Lightfoot in that case. And in fact, I've said it before, hiring Lori Lightfoot was a waste of money. She's not going to find much, and if they just simply wait for the new government to come in, they're going to be able to uncover everything at that point anyway. Tiffany can't let that happen, and by that I mean a new government opening up all the books. But she can't stop it. She really only has one option: fleeing the country. And I'll say this, there is no way that bolting for a country like Costa Rica, which doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S., hasn't crossed Tiffany's mind. She has almost certainly stockpiled much of the village's finances, which are probably in her mattress. What can the FBI do? Well, if they get the Attorney General's office to press charges on something, anything, then they can have Tiffany give up her passport as part of her bail restrictions. Remember how the Attorney General of Illinois decided that he didn't need to investigate Henyard. This is where that chunk of cowardice comes into play. If his office had bothered to get involved, they could have stuck her with something by now, even if it was relatively minor, and get those bail restrictions placed on her. Because she is accused of stockpiling cash all across the media, they should have little trouble convincing a judge that she poses a foreign flight risk. But I'm afraid the FBI is going to wait until they wrap up their entire investigation before they indict her, which could be well after the new mayor, probably James House, takes over. They could then travel to whatever city Tiffany is living in, walk up to the door, and notice that the house is empty. She could be living it up in some faraway country, leaving the Village of Dolton to pick up the pieces. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.